everyone, welcome back. Today I want to talk about if you're on a solo hike, how not to get lost, and if you do get lost, some tips and tricks that I've learned over the years to affect your, a rescue basically of yourself or somebody else rescuing you. Let me preface this by saying I'm not a wilderness expert. I'm not any type of certified guide or anything like that. These are just tips and tricks that I've learned through the years. So I mean, if you're going to go out on a solo hike, you should know the area if possible. Google Earth is a great resource. You should stick to trails if possible. I mean, I like that. I like to stick to trails if I'm just hiking, but if I'm hunting, yeah, I kind of wander off. Now, if you go to places that you've been your whole life, then pretty much all this I'm going to be telling you is a moot point because you know your area and you're not going to get lost. When I was up in New York, the places that I hunted and hiked, I didn't need a map. I didn't need anything because basically someone could drop me off in the middle of there, and I'd look around and I'd say, oh yeah, I recognize that tree, I recognize that rock, I recognize this, I recognize that. So I mean, if you've been going someplace for 20 plus years, you're gonna know what you're doing. This is for, hey, this is a new area, I don't really know where I am kind of thing, and you get lost. So I think the most important thing to do is let somebody know where you're going. Tell them, hey, I'm going to blah blah blah, and I should be home by 6 o'clock. Okay, and if you're not home by 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, they'll know something's wrong and they can help you. Out of all the things I'm going to tell you today, I think that's the most important. Okay, then obviously have a cell phone with you. Some places where I know where I go, cell phone's useless. Okay, so I have this little bag I put together, and it contains a lot of stuff. And this will aid you not getting lost and then affect the rescue. So let me reposition the camera and I'll show you what I got in here. All right, so I have here a waxed canvas bag. You may notice that it looks a little different from the normal canvas that I use because I ran out of the duck cloth. And I got this idea from our friend Mitchell over at Guns, Knives, and Beer. He said he used a cheap canvas drop cloth to work on prototypes and stuff instead of using the expensive stuff. And I had a piece of, I had a big drop cloth, and it's a heavy duty drop cloth. It's not them real cheap ones. And I was wondering if it would work, and I'll tell you what, I dyed it brown and I waxed it, and I really like it for making bags. It's not as thick as the duck cloth, but it's certainly thick enough, I'll tell you what. And the water just beads off it. So, all right, enough on the bag. You all know I love my wax canvas. So now, I'm just going to dump everything out, and then I'll talk about each thing. Okay, put the bag aside. All right, now, like I said, the first thing, if you're going to be on trails, this stuff kind of really doesn't, you won't need all this stuff. And this does not replace an emergency kit, okay? This is in addition to, okay? Now, it may look like a lot of stuff, but they all have a purpose, all right? Another thing you could do is if there's no one available to let you, to tell where you are, you could have a little notebook. Right, I have my space pen that's on my belt, but I also have another pen that's in here, and I have a pencil. Okay, and I just have a little tube on there to keep the point sharp. And you leave a note in your car on your dashboard saying, "Hey, I'm on this trail." And again, that'll constitute an emergency if your car is there all night, and the authorities happen to see the car, or someone sees the car. And it says, hey, I'm in there. If I'm not out at this time, please come look for me, kind of thing. So we just got a regular notepad here. That's for fair weather. And then I saw this review from Erobin's Outdoors, and this Rite in the Rain pad. And this is amazing. I'll put a link in the description of him testing this. But it's really waterproof. It's amazing. Water just beads off it. And this, in conjunction with the space pen, you could write in the rain. Okay? Now, you could leave messages on the trail also. hey, I went this way, I went that way. So it's really cool to have that. So we got our pads, our pens, pencil, and like I said, my space pen. All right. Now, when you're going down a trail and you veer off into the woods and you're not sure where you're going, there's a lot of things you could do. Okay. Have you ever heard the term blazing a trail? Well, they actually would take a knife or a hatchet or whatever they had, and they would mark a tree. Okay. And then they would know that that was the trail because you would be able to see that contrast of the inner bark on the tree. Now here's another tip for you. If you're going into some place that you don't know, turn around every once in a while. Every, 50, 75 yards. Turn around and look what it looks like in the other direction. Because when you're coming out, it's not going to look the same as when you're going in. Okay, so, and if you blaze the trail, make sure that you could see it in both directions. Now I have here a bunch of duct tape. There's a lot of duct tape here, okay? Now you could rip off a piece of this duct tape. You could get a little twig, wrap it around it, stick it in the trail, all right? And then you'll know that's your trail. Sort of like the Hansel and Gretel with the breadcrumbs, except nothing's going to eat the tape. You could also use this like regular surveyor's tape. Rip a strip, put it around a branch, put it on a tree, okay? And that's a good marker. In here, I have what's called bright eyes. Now, if you never saw these things, they're amazing. They're little thumbtacks with reflective surfaces. Okay, now you put these on trees and you could see them far. They say about 50 of these can mark like a 2-mile trail. All right, now again, if you're putting them on the trees, make sure that you put them on the back of the tree because that's the way you're going to be coming out, okay? Now you can use these to also pin a note on something. So these come in real handy. Now this is if you're coming out at night, okay? Now I have these. If you never saw these before, you take one of these, you add a little water, and it expands to a giant towelette, okay? And they're pretty tough, okay? You could use these as flags. Right? Rip little pieces, tie them around the trees, and they weigh absolutely nothing. Nothing. Okay? Compass. I watched Dave Canterbury use this compass, and he gives a little tutorial on how to use it. Oil-filled, turning bezel. It was a great video. He actually got some very in-depth ones, too, because when you start walking in the woods and you don't know where you're going, if you don't have a line of sight, there's a thing called lateral drift, and you end up walking in a giant circle. So I highly advise getting a compass and knowing how to use it, okay? So I'll put that link in there also for Dave. All right, so there's a few ways to not get lost. Now, if you are lost, ways that you could, signal for help. First of all, if you're with some type of conveyance, stay with it, all right? Because that's going to be the most likely thing that they're going to find, all right? Now, if you're not and you're in the middle of the woods, you try to find a clearing. And again, you got your little knife here. There it is. So you got your little saw blade, right? Now you can use that to cut little pieces of kindling. And then you have some waterproof matches. You also have a Bic lighter, right? 2 is 1, 1 is none. So you got a way to make fire, okay? You make yourself a signal fire. Try to get into a clearing. You don't want to do that under a bunch of trees. Get into a clearing. You can make yourself a signal fire. Once you got the fire going, put some green material on it. That'll create a lot of smoke. Okay, so that's one way. Get yourself one of these little compacts. It's $1 in the dollar store. All right, signal mirror. This could be seen from a long distance. A whistle. Whistle is very important because if you start yelling help, 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 you run out of breath and your throat gets sore. Okay, but you could blow on the whistle all day long. So you got your whistle, you got your signal mirror. Obviously, we're gonna have a flashlight. Got a couple spare batteries, because what good is a flashlight if the battery dies? And don't worry about flashing SOS or anything like that. Just, you know, you could turn it on and off, okay? So for nighttime, this is great. And then this, in conjunction with the bright eyes, I mean, if you never saw these bright eyes, it's really amazing. They really just light up. So these are just some tips and tricks that I have on how not to get lost, and a couple ways to help yourself get rescued, basically. I'm sure there's a ton more ways of doing things. You know, I'd love to hear it. If you have any, throw them down in the comments, and you know, we'll take it from there. So everyone, thanks for watching. I really appreciate your views and your comments, and I hope you're having a great day, and I hope you found this useful. All right, we'll see you on the next one.